The night was darker than usual in the small rural village of Ede. The moon hid behind thick clouds, and silence ruled the huts scattered across the land. But inside one little mud house, a storm was raging, not of rain, but of voices. "Witch!" shouted Mama Nkechi, her voice sharp like a cutlass. She pointed at Amara, a fragile 16-year-old girl with big, sorrowful eyes and callous hands. "Ever since this girl entered my house, nothing good has happened. Crops fail, goats die, and sickness spreads. She is cursed." The other villagers murmured, fear already spreading like wildfire. Amara stood barefoot, clutching an old wrapper around her thin body. She didn't speak. What was there to say? All her life, she had been different. She saw things before they happened, dreams that turned real, visions no one could explain. When she touched herbs, they worked like magic, healing wounds and stopping fevers. But instead of gratitude, people whispered, "She has powers from the spirits. She must be a witch." Her stepmother, Mama Nkechi, had waited for this day. With a dramatic gesture, she dragged Amara by the arm and threw her into dust outside the hut. "Leave! You are no longer welcome here. Go and join the demons that gave you those powers." The girl stumbled, falling to her knees. Her lips trembled, but no tears fell. She had run out of tears long ago. The crowd stood, torches in hand, watching. Some shook their heads. Others spat on the ground. One old man muttered, "If we keep her, calamity will follow us. Let her go." By dawn, Amara was on the streets, hungry, barefoot, and rejected. She curled against the cold walls of the village market, mosquitoes biting her legs. No food, no family, just loneliness and whispers which echoing in her ears. But destiny was not finished with her. That very night, as she lay staring at the stars, a vision came, so clear it shook her soul. A wealthy man dressed in a black Italian suit stood weeping beside a young girl in a wheelchair. The girl's face was pale, her eyes full of sadness. Amara saw herself standing in front of them, speaking words that burned into her spirit. "I can heal her. I can make her walk." Her heart pounded. She didn't know who they were or where they lived. All she knew was one thing. Her gift had led her here for a reason. And somewhere far away, in a mansion filled with wealth, power, and despair, a billionaire was praying for a miracle only she could deliver. Far away from the dusty paths of Ede Village stood the glittering skyline of Lagos, where wealth and power towered in glass and steel. At the heart of it all was the mansion of Chief Adewale Oladipo, one of the wealthiest men in Nigeria. To the outside world, Chief Adewale had everything: business empires, cars worth fortunes, and influence in politics. Yet, behind the golden gates of his home, darkness lingered. Inside the mansion's grand hall, where crystal chandeliers lit up polished marble floors, his daughter lay in a wheelchair. Her name was Ifeoluwa, just 10 years old, with bright eyes that once danced with joy, but now carried only pain. 2 years ago, an accident had paralyzed her legs. Every doctor from Lagos to London had been consulted. They all shook their heads with the same answer. There is no hope. She will never walk again. Chief Adewale sat beside her, his once broad shoulders now hunched from sorrow. His tailored igbada, worth more than most families' yearly earnings, did nothing to hide the tears running down his face. He gripped his daughter's frail hand and whispered, "My jewel, if I could trade all I own just to see you walk again, I would do it without blinking." Beside them stood his wife, Madame Ronk, a regal woman draped in gold jewelry. Yet even she looked weary, her eyes carrying the burden of countless nights without sleep. The mansion was filled with wealth, but echoed with silence, broken only by Ifeoluwa's quiet sobs. Despite his riches, Chief Adewale had run out of answers. He had called herbalists, priests, and pastors. Nothing worked. Hope was slipping through his fingers like water. His business associates noticed a change. His fierce confidence was gone. His empire was strong, but his heart was shattered. Then one evening, as Ifeoluwa stared out of her window toward the night sky, she asked a question that pierced Adewale's soul. "Daddy, why did God give me legs if I can't use them? Why can't I just be like other children?" Chief Adewale turned away, hiding his tears. He felt powerless. Money had bought him the world, but it couldn't buy his daughter's laughter back. What no one knew was that destiny was moving quietly in the background. The same night Amara slept on the cold ground of the village market, clutching her wrapper, Chief Adewale knelt on his expensive Persian rug, crying to heaven. "Please," he prayed, "send me a miracle. I don't care where it comes from. I don't care who brings it. Just save my child." And miles away, a homeless girl accused of witchcraft was holding the answer to his desperate prayer. Days turned into weeks since Amara had been thrown out of her village. She survived on scraps from the market, sleeping beside wooden stalls, her stomach growling through the night. People avoided her, whispering, which whenever she passed. But inside her heart, the vision of the billionaire and his daughter never left. Each time she closed her eyes, she saw the same pale child in a wheelchair, the same man crying and herself speaking boldly. "I can heal her." Amara didn't know who they were or how to reach them, but something stronger than hunger pushed her forward. One morning, she tied her old wrapper tightly, stood up from the cold ground, and whispered to herself, "If this is destiny, let it find me." Meanwhile, in Lagos, Chief Adewale's despair deepened. Ifeoluwa's condition grew worse. She now battled fevers that doctors could not explain. The mansion became a place of endless visits from strangers, prophets, spiritualists, herbalists, all promising healing but leaving disappointment. Madame Ronk grew angry. "How many more will you invite into our home?" she demanded one night. "All they do is eat our food, collect money, and leave us with nothing but lies." Adewale buried his face in his hands. "What choice do I have, Ronk? I would let the whole world into this house, if it means seeing my daughter walk again." Fate answered in the most unexpected way. One humid afternoon, Amara wandered into the city. Dust clung to her bare feet as she walked the busy streets of Lagos. She begged quietly, her voice almost too soft to hear. "Please, just water, just bread." But people brushed past her, some scolding her, others pretending she didn't exist. As she rested beneath a mango tree near a fuel station, she overheard two drivers gossiping. "Have you heard about Chief Adewale's daughter?" one said. "Which one?" the other asked, sipping a bottle of Coke. "The youngest, Ifeoluwa. They say she hasn't walked in 2 years. Some even say the family is cursed." Amara's heart stopped. The vision, the man in the Italian suit, the child in the wheelchair. This was it. Destiny had spoken. Her pulse raced as she followed the directions the drivers casually mentioned. The journey to the mansion was long. She walked under the hot sun, her legs aching, but she didn't stop. Hours later, she stood before towering black gates guarded by uniformed men. The guards eyed her with disgust. "What do you want here, girl?" one barked. Amara swallowed hard, her voice trembling but firm. "I must see Chief Adewale. I can help his daughter." The guards burst into laughter. "You? Look at yourself. You're nothing but a street beggar. Move before I chase you." But Amara didn't move. She planted her bare feet in the dust, lifted her chin, and repeated with surprising strength, "I said I can help his daughter. Let me in." The commotion drew the attention of Madame Ronk, who was returning from an outing in her SUV. Stepping out, dressed in flowing lace and gold jewelry, she looked Amara up and down with disdain. "Who is this filthy thing? Why is she standing at my gate?" The guard explained, sneering, "Madam, she claims she can heal Ifeoluwa." Ronk's laughter was sharp and bitter. "Heal? Look at her. She can't even heal herself. Chase her away before she brings bad luck to this house." The guards advanced, ready to push Amara into the street. But just then, a soft voice floated from the balcony above. "Wait!" Everyone turned. It was Ifeoluwa, sitting in her wheelchair, her frail hands gripping the railing. Her eyes, tired, pale yet curious, were fixed on Amara. "Mama, don't send her away," she whispered. "Please, I feel something about her." Ronk hesitated. "Ife, go inside. You don't know what you're saying." But Chief Adewale himself appeared, his igbata flowing as he stepped out into the compound. His face was weary but commanding. "What's happening here?" The guard bowed. "Chief, forgive us. This girl says she can heal your daughter." Adewale's eyes fell on Amara. Her wrapper was torn, her face dirty, her body weak from hunger. Yet her gaze was steady, full of courage. Amara spoke, her voice clear despite her trembling hands. Chief Adewale, I know you don't know me. I have nothing to offer, not even shoes on my feet. But I saw your daughter in a vision. I saw you crying. And I know one thing. If you let me near her, she will walk again. Silence hung in the air. Ronk scoffed, turning away in disgust. The guard shifted uneasily. But Adewale's heart raced. How could this ragged girl describe what only he had prayed in secret nights ago? He stepped closer, his voice low but intense. If you are lying, girl, I will personally throw you into the streets. But if you speak the truth, then maybe, just maybe, you are the answer I beg God for. And with that, he ordered the gates opened. Amara, the homeless girl accused of witchcraft, stepped into the mansion of one of Nigeria's wealthiest men. Destiny had just opened its doors. The gates closed behind her with a heavy clang. For the first time, Amara's bare feet touched marble tiles instead of dusty village roads. The mansion stretched before her, glittering chandeliers, walls lined with art worth fortunes, and servants who stopped in their tracks to stare at the ragged girl who had just walked inside. Some whispered, some laughed, but Amara kept her eyes fixed ahead, her hands trembling against the folds of her wrapper. Chief Adewale led the way into the grand living room, where Ifeoluwa sat in her wheelchair. She stared at Amara with wide, curious eyes. For a moment, neither spoke. It was as if time itself held its breath. Madame Ronk broke the silence with a scoff. This is madness, Adewale. How can you bring this dirty street girl into our home? Have you lost your senses? She'll disgrace us in front of our staff. Adewale raised a hand, silencing her. His voice was firm. Ronk, I have tried everything. Doctors, priests, herbalists. Even money has failed me. If God wants to use this girl, who am I to question it? He turned to Amara. You said you can heal her. Then do it. But remember this. If you lie, it will cost you dearly. Amara swallowed hard. She felt the weight of every eye in the room pressing down on her, the whispers of which from her village echoed in her head. Yet in that moment, a strange calmness washed over her. She stepped forward and knelt before Ifeoluwa. Don't be afraid, Amara whispered softly. You're not meant to live in this chair. Stand with me. Ronk hissed. Nonsense. Can't you see she's paralyzed? She hasn't walked in years. But Ifeoluwa's little hands reached out, almost instinctively, to touch Amara's. The moment their skin met, something shifted in the room. A breeze blew across the hall, though every window was closed. The chandeliers flickered. Even the guards at the door straightened, sensing something beyond the ordinary. Amara closed her eyes and whispered words no one else could understand. It wasn't incantation. It wasn't witchcraft. It was prayer, raw, broken, but filled with faith. Tears slid down her cheeks as she pressed Ifeoluwa's legs gently. Rise, she whispered. At first, nothing happened. The silence was so heavy, it seemed the entire house stopped breathing. Ronk folded her arms, smirking. I told you, she's a fraud. Throw her out. But before she could finish, a sound broke the silence. A soft gasp. Then another. Ifeoluwa's toes twitched. Her legs, which had been lifeless for 2 years, began to shake. The little girl's eyes widened as she whispered, Mama, Daddy, I can feel them. Ronk stumbled backward, her gold bangles clattering. What is happening? Chief Adewale dropped to his knees beside his daughter, tears streaming down his face. Ifeoluwa, my jewel, try again. Move your legs. Amara steadied the child, her voice firm yet tender. Stand with me. Don't fear. You can do it. Slowly, painfully, like a newborn calf taking its first steps, Ifeoluwa pushed against the wheelchair. Her tiny feet touched the cold marble floor. Her knees trembled. She swayed. But then, miracle of miracles, she stood. The room erupted in gasps and cries. Servants covered their mouths in shock. The guards dropped their weapons in disbelief. Madame Ronk fell to her knees, weeping uncontrollably. And Chief Adewale? He let out a cry so loud, so raw, it shook the house. Thank you, God. Thank you for hearing me. He wrapped his arms around Ifeoluwa as she wobbled in her first steps, taking 2, 3, then 4 shaky movements toward him before collapsing into his chest. The impossible had happened. The homeless girl accused of witchcraft had healed the daughter of a billionaire. From that moment, Amara's name spread like wildfire. Newspapers carried the story. Miracle in Lagos Mansion. Pastors called it divine. Doctors called it unexplainable. Villagers who once spat on her name now trembled at the sound of it. But Amara herself did not seek fame. As Chief Adewale held her hands at night, gratitude shining his eyes, she simply whispered, I didn't do this. God did. I was only his vessel. Yet deep inside, she knew this was only the beginning. The morning after the miracle, the Oladipo mansion was no longer the same. The halls that once echoed with silence now rang with laughter and songs of thanksgiving. Ifeoluwa, though still shaky, was already practicing walking along the balcony, her little hands gripping the railing while maids cheered her on like she was learning to walk for the first time. Every step she took was like a drumbeat of hope that thundered to the hearts of all who watched. Chief Adewale, still overwhelmed, sat quietly in his study, his head bowed. His billion-naira empire had never given him this kind of joy. All the contracts, the cars, the wealth, they meant nothing compared to the sight of his daughter taking steps again. And the one who had brought this miracle? A homeless girl, once despised, now honored. Amara's life changed overnight. No longer did she sleep on coal market floors or eat scraps thrown in pity. Chief Adewale arranged a private room for her in a mansion, with a bed softer than anything she had ever touched, clean clothes, and meals prepared with care. For the first time in her life, she ate until she was full and slept without fear. Madame Ronk, who had once scorned her, approached Amara with tears streaming down her face. She fell to her knees and held the girl's hands. Forgive me, she whispered. I judged you by your poverty. I called you names. But you are an angel sent to us. Amara gently lifted her up. I forgive you. I was once rejected too. But sometimes rejection is just a road that leads us to our purpose. Word of the miracle spread beyond Lagos. Journalists came. Pastors wanted to meet her. Doctors from abroad visited to study the impossible case. Even government officials invited her to events. But Amara never boasted. When asked how she did it, she always said, it wasn't me. It was a hand of God. But fate had one more twist in store. Weeks later, Amara's village heard of her rising fame. The same villagers who had called her, which now trembled with shame. Mama Nkechi, her cruel stepmother, tried to twist the story. I knew she was special all along, she claimed. But the truth could not be hidden. Everyone remembered how she had cast Amara out like trash. One day, Chief Adewale himself, accompanied by his wife and daughter, drove into the village with Amara by his side. The convoy of SUVs brought the entire community out to stare. And when the villagers saw Amara step out, dressed in elegant but simple attire, standing beside the billionaire's family, gasps filled the air. Mama Nkechi fell to the ground, wailing, Amara, forgive me. I didn't know what I was doing. Amara looked at her with calm eyes. You meant it for evil, but God turned it into good. Without your rejection, I would never have walked into my destiny. The crowd murmured. Some wept, others bowed in respect. That day, Amara was no longer a witch in their eyes. She was a chosen vessel, a living testimony. Back in Lagos, Chief Adewale went further. Out of gratitude, he adopted Amara into his family. He sent her to the best schools, gave her the chance to pursue her dreams, and treated her as his own daughter. As years passed, she became not just known for miracle, but for her compassion, her wisdom, and her commitment to helping the poor and rejected. Her life was a living example that the stone which the builders rejected can indeed become the cornerstone. The lesson: Amara's story teaches us something deeper than wealth or miracles. It teaches that destiny cannot be stopped by rejection, poverty, or slander. It shows us that those in the world despise us today may be the very vessels God uses tomorrow. It reminds us that wealth and power mean nothing without compassion. Chief Adewale had everything money could buy, but his true blessing came through a homeless girl. And above all, it proves that kindness, faith, and resilience can turn pain into purpose. So, the next time you see someone broken, poor, or cast aside, remember Amara. Do not despise them. Do not mock them. Because hidden inside their suffering may be the key to a miracle the world is waiting for.